Hello my fellow hunters, in this video I'm going to show you the best element water switch access for Monster Hunter Rise game version 3.0. There are two pretty good elemental water switch access in the game. One custom switch X, so the Rampage Slicer, and the Mizutsune switch X, which are still pretty good. The Rampage switch X is pretty good for Apex monsters, Elder Dragons, and if you're using the soaring Wyvern blade, because it does a lot of fixed damage. For example, I got with the soaring Wyvern blade 500 or tick, and the Mizutsune build is pretty good for monsters with good hitsune values, which are more than 45. So I'm gonna explain you all the stuff. This is the DPS sheet. You can see I have to enable the auras further still in. You can see here the Ludo from Puni, and the Doombringer X is pretty bad in comparison to the Rampage Slicer elemental switch X and the Mizutsune switch X. The both best water switch X's actually does 118 or 119 DPS depending on the set, and the Doombringer and Ludo are maybe 9% worse than the Porting Slice or Rampage Slicer. So actually I don't really recommend using the Doombringer X or the Ludo Doombringer X has a pretty good element here with 61, but if I click on this link, so we're gonna open it, you can see here the sharpness modifier is only 1.2, so with a worse sharpness also your elemental damage output goes down. We have a lot of crit skills in the set and so on, but you can see only the full cycle DPS is 112.8, and with the green sharpness only 111.9. So it's pretty bad actually in this game version. And yes, I don't want to explain more about these two switch X's because they are now pretty easy out damaged. I also have to say that you again be careful with the meta Reddit SA post. You can see here on Imgur, there was from the Monster Hunter Meta. It's a pretty good site, but I actually didn't know whether this datasheet is again from the French guy, but if you watched his builds, he don't uses let's have a look whether I can make this build a little bit more bigger, and you can see in most of my builds I'm using for power vials the Yura Todos chest with a weight extender 1 and power prolonger 2, and this guy doesn't need even one single level of power prolonger for the Porting Slice power vial build. He uses attack boost, speed sharpening. The next thing is he uses 2 levels of handicraft, but you only need 1 level of handicraft to reach the right sharpness. Also protective polish only level 2. I'm not sure whether he used this combination, but I personally would prefer only 1 level of handicraft and 3 levels of protective polish, because it's easier yes, to slot in, so you don't need any handicraft tools or what else. The next thing is, I think he goes too much into crit. I think an agitator level 3 would be a lot better than all those crit skills. And I'm gonna explain you that also in this video, why using agitator for switch X is one of the best things you can do. So I personally don't really recommend using the set. Maybe it's not bad, but I'm personally using another set. Now I'm showing the set I am used for the Porting Slice. I use weakness exploit level 3, crit boost level 1, attack boost level 4, power prolonger level 1, and the water attack level 5. Yes, a white sharpness with protective polish, and now we're gonna open the sheet. Yes, and the ramp up skill is attack level 3. So here you can see the build for the parting slice. For example, you can see all the data, standard file damage, which is rapid morph affected, so you can see 37 rapid morph effective file damage on a 60 hit zone value is pretty good. And with monsters with a 60 hit zone value, you do 143.4 cycle DPS, and with a 40 hit zone value, only 92.8 DPS. So all in all, that's 118.1 cycle DPS. I'm going to show you this Mizutsune set. First of all, how to craft this weapon. I think it's pretty much a both. You can craft it from the Kamura tree, then go to Font Pharaohville and upgrade it to the parting slice. We have several different augmentations, but I recommend using a attack boost because for me personally, every time you have a power file, I recommend using attack boost 3 because you get the multiplier on this bonus for the power file multiplier. And yes, I'm gonna now show you the set. I actually didn't prepare a run with this build, but with another build. Yes. For the skills, like I already explained, war attack 5, attack boost 4, rapid morph 3, weakness exploit, protective polish and speed sharpening are maxed out, crit boost level 1, and also handicraft level 1 and power prolonger level 1. Because yes, I didn't really understand why he doesn't use the power prolonger. I didn't know whether he's a swags main or not, but I really recommend using minimum power prolonger level 2 on a power file. So I'm gonna show you the decorations. On the Mizutsune Switch X Extreme Jewel 1, on the Almudron Helm S, 2 Tenderizer Jewels 2, on the Taroth Male S, this armor part is giving you 2 levels of water attack, a sharp jewel 2 and a grinder jewel 1. On the Dober Vamprises, a sharp jewel 2 and 2 grinder jewels 1. On the Anjanath Coil S, a sharp jewel 2 and 2 stream jewels 1. And on the Hunter Greaves S, a tenderizer jewel level 2. On our Rapid Morph 1 talisman, a handicraft and a critical jewel. So I hope you got lucky and maybe get also maybe a handicraft jewel with 2 good slots or any other similar thing to rebuild this charm. Yes, that is the Mizutsune Switch X build. It's actually all in all the second best water build you can use. And now I'm gonna show you, first of all, I would make a separate video for that because it takes too much time. I just wanna make a quick overview for the Rampage Slicer. For the first Rampage slot, it's pretty easy. I calculated all possible combinations, the best you can do, and the best I recommend always use Sharpness Type 1. It's by possible the best augmentation you can use, because you need only 1 level of handicraft to reach white sharpness. You also have other sharpness types like this one, but you can read it here. It reduces the attack by 20, so that's a lot and you can't compensate that huge base roar loss. We also have attack boost 4 and elemental boost, but elemental boost is also pretty weak, only 7 element, that's like nothing. Affinity boost or attack boost, but you only have blue sharpness, and the damage output from the blue to white sharpness increases by I think 12 or 13%, so it's by far the best to use the Sharpness Type 1 every time. The next is also pretty easy, use water attack. I have to mention that Capcom made this extremely unfriendly for the switch X. You can read it here. The water element, or in general the elements, are only 20. And like I explained in my previous videos, to make a useful elemental switch X, you minimum need 30 elemental damage to make a very useful, viable elemental switch X build. But the next thing is, it also reduces our attack by 5. So yes, Capcom makes that really tricky for us to make a useful elemental switch X. The next thing is the most tricky thing I've calculated. First of all, if you don't like this build, I recommend you can also slap on an exhaust or a paralysis file on your elemental switch X build. Yes, you lose about 20% DPS, but maybe it's more comfy for you. So there's a lot of exhaust, for instance, you know, maybe on the T-Rex swags there's only 22 exhaust, and here it's about 40, so I think the files from the weapons are pretty good. The exhaust file and the paralysis file are also pretty good. But I don't really recommend using the paralysis file because it takes a lot of time to charge this file, like it's like a power file. So I think the best one is exhaust and poison. If you don't want to use the power file, I recommend. But with the power file you deal about 20% more damage. We can use attack surge, that giving us 20 additional attack and minus 30% affinity. That's what I'm using actually on the switch X. Also elemental surge. So the bad thing is, weapon element 10 is pretty low. That's like nothing, you know. On the Almudron switch X you have about 60 water element, or more than 60 water element. So 10 is extremely low and you lose 15 attack. And the next thing is, we have a power file, so we lose more than just 15 attack because of the multiplier. So we lose raw by this water 3, and also raw if you're using the white sharpness type 4, and also losing raw when you're using this here. So you have to be very careful. Yes, elemental surge is just too weak, and also affinity surge is not bad. I think it's between them, but I don't recommend it. Now I'm gonna show you how are the best possible Rampage combination for elemental switch X. I maybe also gonna show that you're in a separate video. I calculated, you can see it here, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I calculated 11 different combinations, and to make it easier, because I'm gonna make a separate video of that, the best possible combinations you can use is sharpness 1 with element affinity surge. So we have a weapon with 200 raw, 20 element and 20% affinity. And if you slap on attack boost 4 with elemental attack 4, power longer 2 like on all other builds, and crit boost 1, you deal about 108 hybrid DPS, because that's not a cycle DPS, that's from my hybrid calculator, the values. And I also tried different sets, so I found out that the best possible combination you can do is to out damage Mizutsune switch X, or in general to make a Rampage switch X useful, because I've shown you the element you got from the Rampage modifications are pretty low. Like on the Aura's Phaser or so, you have about more than 50 natural element, and yes, to make a useful Rampage elemental switch X, you have to put all your skills into attack. No crit, all into attack, because files can't crit, and maybe if you use Soaring Wyvern Blade, that move also can't crit. So we're gonna use sharpness level 1 element, so we get 20 element. It's pretty low, but at the end it does a decent amount of damage. And attack surge, so we gain additional 20 raw, but lose 30% affinity, and you can see it's better than the affinity surge build. We deal 111 hybrid DPS if we're using crit I2 and elemental attack 5. But I figured out to use another set, it's this one. And on this set I have used attack boost level 6 with Agitator 3 and Elemental Attack 5, and we're dealing about 118 damage. But I haven't the correct charm for this, so I have to, yes, choose another set, and I'm gonna show you the best possible combination you can use for the Rampage switch X, and also I'm gonna explain the DPS in comparison to the Mizutsune switch X. Here you can see what I'm using on my Rampage Slicer. I augmented for sharpness 1. I'm gonna show it you here. Sorry. I have equipped the Porting Slice, so we can go to the smithy and set the Rampage skills from our Rampage switch X. And I recommend using sharpness type 1, water 3, and attack surge. And now I'm gonna show you a data sheet that explains you how to damage the Mizutsune switch X. For the skills, I have used no wax, and yes, this Rampage switch X is better when you put all your skills into raw and not into crit. So also, like I mentioned before, yes, this set also works very well without weakness exploit, because we can max out Agitator 5. So for the set, I recommend using Attack Boost 4, Agitator 5, Handicraft 1, Protective Polish 3, and also Power Prolonger 2, not like the Sky from the Reddit meta post, who doesn't use Power Prolonger, and also Status Element up, level 3. So we only have 20 element, so it doesn't make sense to max out the elemental attack. Yes, we also have Speed Sharpening 3 on the set, and we deal 300 base raw without calculated in the multiplier. So if you calc in the 15% multiplier for the SWAT mode, we deal a ton of more damage. So all in all, the set has 298 raw. You can now see here the comparison to the Porting Slice. You can see when the hit zone, for example, is 60, the Porting Slice build with the Mizutsune switch X does 3 more DPS. But that doesn't include the Soaring Wyvern dive move. So if you're doing the dive move, for example, if you're playing ZSD, the Rampage Slicer is a lot more better, because you're doing the element discharge finisher, which does fixed damage, and also Soaring Wyvern Blade does also a lot of fixed damage. And so if you're using ZSD, I recommend only using the Rampage Slicer, because for the fixed damage. And you can see if the hit zone value is below 40, you deal a lot of more damage. So you deal 5 more DPS when the hit zone value is below 45. So it's pretty good against, like I explained, Apex monsters, other monsters. All in all, we deal 119.1 DPS, so 1 DPS more than with the Porting Slice. And now I'm gonna compare these two sheets together. So the nice thing on this build is, you can see it here, we have negative affinity, so 0.75, but white sharpness with also Power Prolonger and all that other stuff. On the Mizutsune switch X, we only have 1 level of Power Prolonger to fit in a critical boost, and it's better to use critical boost 1 instead of Power Prolonger level 2. And you can see here, on the rapid morph affected file damage, we deal 40 damage per file, and with the Mizutsune switch X build, it's only 37, and the hit zone value is 60. So you can see the file damage is a lot more better than with the Mizutsune switch X builds. For example, we also have Heaven Sword Delivery with about 200 attack, and on the Mizutsune switch X build, it only has 170. You can also see here the motion values and other stuff. And at the bottom, you can see now the full cycle DPS. And you can see it now here. If the hit zone value is pretty bad, this Rampage Slicer build does a decent amount of damage. You can also see here the DPS when loading your gouge. So you can see here, if you're loading up your gouge, also the Mizutsune switch X does a little bit more damage. You can see here 89 DPS, comparison to only 82, but when your switch X is charged and you're in the end state, you do a lot more damage. You can see it, for example, here with the Mizutsune only 104.8 if you're in the end state, and with the Rampage Slicer build 108.1, so 4 more DPS. Yes, all in all, yes, 1 DPS better, but yes, like I explained, if you're playing ZSD, it's even more better than just that 1 DPS. And now I'm gonna show you this build. I don't know whether I've actually equipped this set. No, I haven't equipped. So we go to equipment loadouts. So the thing is, I doesn't have to explain about any ramp up skills, because yes, they are like the augmentations. I'm gonna show you the set skills I have used. Oh, I have water attack 5. Didn't know that. Okay, water attack 5, attack boost 4. Sorry, is that the correct build? Oh, that's the wrong build. I didn't actually have equipped this set. Sorry, it was the wrong set. This is the correct set. I thought elemental attack 5? That's probably the wrong set. Okay, on this set we have agitator 5, attack boost 4, rapid more 3, water attack 3, so we get an additional 5%, productive polish and speed sharpening maxed out like every other time, power prolonger level 2, so we have maybe 1 minute and 5 seconds, or 1 minute and 15 seconds in the M state. Handicraft level 1 with a weight extender. A weight extender 1 is pretty cool. And you can see here we have white sharpness, only 20 water element, but yes, like I have explained, it can out damage the Mitsutsune's switch X. No slots, unfortunately, and the affinity is bad, so we're using agitator to compensate the bad affinity and cut it good raw. So I'm going to show you the decorations I've used on the set. You can see it also here, the augmentations I've used. Rampage Slicer hasn't slots. On the Almudron Helm S, 2 Challenger Jewels 2. On the Shura Todus Mail, 3 Grinder Jewels. On the Rathalos Braithus S, a Sharp Jewel 2. On the Anja Nav Coil S, a Sharp Jewel 2 and 2 Stream Jewels 1. And the Gossarak Reefs with a Stream Jewel, which gives us 3 level of Agitator. On our Rapid Move 1 Talisman, a Handicraft and a Sharp Jewel. So I don't recommend using the Wildstraff Cloths, because if your life is under 50%, it negates your entire elemental attack, and I don't really recommend using the Wildstruck sprays. Okay, that's it with the build. I'm gonna explain ramp up skills in the next videos, because it's a lot to talk about and don't want to make this video too long. I'm gonna add a clip. I hunted Tobi Kadachi and Anjanav. For the Anjanav in the first hunt I needed 3 minutes and 20 seconds. I don't know whether it's a good time, but I think I can easily get sub 3 minutes with this build. You can maybe also tell me in the comments how long do you need for Anjanav. And for the Tobi Kadachi I needed about, I think it was the same time, also 3 minutes or 3.5 minutes, but I only at the Anjanav run, because I want to show you how this set works against monsters with bad hit values. So you have the Anjanav here, it has a water weakness, and the thing is, you can see here on the head and on the snout, the hit zone value is pretty good. But with the switch X, and we haven't the Klutchko like an Iceborne, you can see it here, we can't reach the head. So in a lot of cases, yes, the hit zone value is good, but you can't reach the head. And so the most parts you're attacking, I think it's the torso, and as you can see, the hit zone value is only 30, and you can't trigger the weakness exploit on this armor piece. So I think this set is pretty good against Anjanav, and the set is also pretty good against, like I explained, Apex monsters, for example the Ostra. So you can see here there is only the head where you can trigger weakness exploit, and all the other parts like you can see here there is not even one single hit zone value that's 45 or higher. So for that case, the Mizutsune switch X is garbage, and the Rampage switch X is a lot better. Okay, I now gonna add this run. It's no good run, just a random run, and yes, have fun with the set. You can use both sets, and yes, see you next time when I showcasing the fire elemental switch X build. I'm not pretty sure. I made a poll and I wrote that you can out damage the Rathaler switch X, but actually I'm not sure, because I found out that the attack surge is the best way to go, and yes, you only have 20 element, so maybe I think the Wrath split is better. But the only thing is, for the Wrath Splitter you need 4 levels of Handicraft, and with the Rampage Switch X only 1 level of Handicraft, but you have that negative affinity. So that's maybe gonna be next, very interesting in the next video. So see you in the next time when I'm showing the fire build, and yes, have fun with this run. See you next time.
Where would I be without ya?